Hi, I'm Todd Hemperly, and I am a data entry clerk for Verizon.
And my name is Thom Nichols. I'm a freelance writer and author journalist from Philadelphia. And we're here to bring you the Thom and Todd show. And the story of Thom and Todd, I think, is a bit unusual. I met Todd 18 years ago. I was writing for the Welcome Mat, the Center City Welcome Mat. I had a column called Different Strokes. And the idea for that column was to talk to a straight audience about a gay lifestyle. Now, this was very hard for me because I'm used to preaching to the choir. But suddenly I was told by my editor that I had to talk about the things that I knew and experienced in the city to an audience that may not know all the answers.
Right.
Anyway, I wrote for this paper for a while, and one day I'm leafing through it, and there's an ad in the back for a weekend attendant. I called the number, and it was Todd. He was in Roxborough at the time. I needed pocket money. He needed a weekend attendant. Todd then hired me on the spot. What were your thoughts when you hired me on the spot? You didn't even want to see me. I could have been a serial killer, right?
Yeah, well, I was very inexperienced at managing nursing assistants. So when I spoke to you on the phone, I just said, show up at so-and-so time, and you did. I really had no thoughts or experience. Now I know better.
And, of course, that first time was a bit strange for me because I had never showered somebody. I had worked in hospitals and in operating rooms where I've seen all kinds of surgeries and autopsies and taken people to the morgue. But then you're dealing with dead people or people under anesthesia.
Right.
But with you, it was suddenly I had this living person who needed all these care chores done, from brushing the teeth to testing the shower water.
I actually brush my own teeth.
I know you do. And Todd has a ritual around various things such as toothbrushing. It's like the fresh water has to go here, and the mouthwash has to go here, and the toothbrush has to be put just so over the plastic bowl. So these rituals were very important to him, frustrating for me to learn, because at that point you were very anal about this.
I was a little Mussolini.
Yeah. One of the things that concerned me, because the contact was so intimate then, I thought, well, this was also 18 years ago. This probably would not cross my mind today. But I thought, you were a straight man, I'm a gay man. When you find out that I'm gay, would that be a problem? And I believe the first time that we discussed this was several weeks into my working for you. And an incident happened. Tell me about the incident.
Well, my wallet got stolen by a homeless man. And after he stole my money and condoms out of the wallet, he mailed it back to me. And I was telling Thom over the phone about the stolen wallet and the condoms. And he said, well, I guess he'll be having sex with a lot of women. And I said, no, he's probably gay, because homeless people are gay. And Thom goes and he says to me, Todd, I write for an alternative lifestyles article. And I'm like, what is an alternative lifestyle? And that's when you told me you were gay, and alternative lifestyles are about gay people.
And so then we had a lot of discussions from that point on. It wasn't a big deal with Todd, but then I had to tell him that it's very rare that you would see a gay homeless person. Gay people are too vain. They wouldn't go homeless. What they do is they move into poor neighborhoods and they gentrify them. It's very rare that you see a gay homeless person.
I thought
another stereotype, but
I thought I deeply offended him and that he was going to quit right on the spot. I was very lucky he didn't.
And you felt so bad about that. You felt like apologizing ad infinitum, and it was so uncalled for. But anyway, we went on to a lot of different things other than that. And I was thinking of one thing in particular as I'm looking at my notes. At the time when you were in Roxborough, you were a big drinker.
Yes.
Now, one can't blame you for liking alcohol at that point. Given your disability, you know, when I would talk to my friends about you, they would say, well, I would drink if I were that guy. But in Roxborough, you drank too heavily. In fact, you drank so much that I once wrote a column about you in the Welcome Mat, where you rolled out of your wheelchair. I compared you to an Oreo cookie.
Yeah.
That he was actually rolling down the street. Now, at the time, I think this offended you a little bit. But did that have anything to do with your getting sober or trying
yes,
to
it did.
clean up your act?
That was my inspiration to get sober when I thought back on that article. And I used to have a saying, too much is never enough, which used to get me in a lot of trouble. So I've been sober now for 10 years.
Yeah, and that's a remarkable thing. He's been on and off cigarettes.
Yeah.
Now, when you moved into Center City then, after Roxborough, and you moved into the Drake.
Right.
And you got involved with the Dungeons and Dragons group. And that was an interesting time for you. That was the time that I started publishing books, too. So Todd is a great sounding board because on and off, he would meet different women. You know, Todd has always been looking for a wife, and it's always been very, very difficult. He has met several women, and a few of whom who have taken advantage of your generosity and your niceness, and they see Todd as a walking ATM machine because he takes them out to dinner. He can't do enough for a woman. And
I love spoiling women.
And unfortunately, they know this, but they just like the goodies, but they don't want to get too close. And but you did have one experience with, well, can we talk about your losing your virginity? But that came rather late in the game, but you were kind of helped along that path by a good friend who actually set you up.
Yeah, I was 28 years old. She was my massage therapist, and she came on to me. She interviewed me and asked me, do I get pain easily? And the look she gave me, I just looked at her and said, are you planning to hurt me? And when she was massaging me, she was coming on to me and saying how beautiful my eyes were and how nice my shoulders were, and she really massaged my butt.
Okay, and so that's a good thing. And
right.
then, so like finally that happened, and then you kind of incorporated that into your life. And then we went on to do other things. You took a cruise to the Caribbean once, which I think is a very, very interesting story. I did not like cruises, but when you told me that you wanted to go on a 9-day cruise to several islands in the Caribbean and that you were taking me, this was a great thing. Now, I have already traveled. I've been to Europe several times, and we've had fun talking about those experiences.
Right.
But this is a cruise. We went to some port in New Jersey, and we got separate cabins. And we had an experience on the ship where Todd attracted a woman who happened to be an alcoholic. She was kind of a well-heeled woman who liked to wear evening gowns. And for a while, she kind of stalked Todd, and I couldn't make heads or tail of it unless she sensed that you were very generous and kind to women in an ATM sense. You see, that's what I think. I think
she was attracted to me.
She was attracted to you.
Yes,
That's good.
I know.
But there was a bit of a Glenn Close thing working here, because at one of the dinners on the ship, she came over to our table and she pointed at me and she said, "What is your relationship to him?" She couldn't get it through her head that I was just your attendant.
Right.
And that it was a professional thing. But she actually pointed to me and she said, "Stay away from him, he's mine."
Right.
And at that point, the poor woman was so drunk, she fell back onto the floor, rolled in her evening gown. It was a great scene. It was a great scene out of a movie. She was so embarrassed, she just walked back to her table. You never saw her again.
Right.
So that's the story of the Caribbean. Other than our 5-minute jaunt into San Juan, Puerto Rico, where we saw rats in the sidewalk and quickly went back to
ran hard out of San Juan. Yes. But, you know, because she was an alcoholic, I knew I couldn't date her, so.
Well, there's a difference between getting tipsy and rolling on the floor in your evening gown.
Right.
There's a world of difference. I was in Wildwood Crest a couple of years ago, and I walked into the bird sanctuary beast and had a run-in with a security guard. Todd would make fun of me for this. I actually wrote an article about it. Would you please tell them?
Well, I'm going to quote a letter that he had sent to an Atlantic City newspaper. "I have traveled the rolling hills of Austria, through the alleys of Rome and Paris, and the streets of the Caribbean. But never have I received such oppression as in Wildwood, New Jersey."
Yeah. Well, I don't actually speak that way. I mean, but Todd likes to put that accent there. So your life now, I work for Todd about 5 days a week. I do the evening shift. When people ask me about Todd, they're always amazed that he has a full-time job. Mm-hmm. They think that he should be at home like a cauliflower or a head of broccoli, doing nothing but just cashing disability checks. When I tell them that he works for Verizon and does all these things with his feet, they cannot believe it. They're shocked. And often these are people who are able-bodied and who don't have jobs and who don't want to find jobs. So there's a great thing that happens when I tell them this story.
Do you want more traffic for your business, but only have a small advertising budget? Do you want your customer to pick you over your competitor every time? Have you heard that video is the #1 way to get in front of your customers? MallStars makes videos for any budget. They have business videos starting at under $100. Call MallStars at 215-393-1577 or visit our video website at www.mallstars.tv.
And other than that, I want to say that other people are kind of shocked that you can do everything that you can do. Todd had a problem for a while about going about Center City. People would stop and on some cases hand him $20 bills, thinking that because of his condition, he needs immediate assistance. And this was a problem for a while, wasn't it?
Right. Yes, it was.
And in most cases, Todd will say thank you, but no thanks. But occasionally, you will accept it and say thank you, right?
Well,
you're not entirely a
The one time that I did, this guy hit me with his car. Now, I didn't receive any injuries, and it didn't break the chair. So he said, "Here," and he handed me a $20 bill out of his car window. And I said, "What's this for?" He says, "Well, 'cause I'm having a great day." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll accept it." So I went out that night and bought my friends shots at the bar at midnight. So, but it's very rare that I should accept money like that.
And also, what unnerves you no end is when people meet you for the first time and they take a step back.
Right.
When they either see your feet or you know, something about your size puts a red light on in their head, and you always notice that. They don't think that you notice that, but you pick up every subtle nuance. And you used to have a problem with children.
Right.
Right? Because children love just to walk up to you and stare. He's had kids who will just walk up to him, but it's like partly fascination, but I think you need to learn to talk to kids a little better, don't you?
Well, I do a lot better now that my sister has kids.
Yeah.
You know, but before my sister had kids, I had no idea how to talk to them. Because these kids see me and they have a billion questions come to mind. And half the time, they freeze. They totally freeze up and don't know what to ask first. So, you know, the parents are like, "Don't talk to him. Don't be rude." I tell the parents, "Listen, you're going to have a billion questions. So you better let the child ask now because you don't know the answers. I do." But I love kids now, and that's one of the reasons why I want to get married, so I can have kids.
So if there's a woman out there who feels attracted to Todd, she could kindly, you know, get in touch with him. Now, Todd is also a skydiver. Although I've done a lot of traveling, I still have a fear of flying. When the plane takes off for about 10 minutes, I think we're going to crash. We're going to crash. This is going to be one of those 10,000 flights. You're doomed. You, however, have kind of like taken it to the next step, to jump out of an airplane. Now, Todd does not jump out of the airplane by himself.
Right.
It's in tandem or piggyback.
Right. The instructor is strapped to my back. And I jumped out the very first time I flew. I've never flown before I skydived. He's strapped to your back, and when you exit the plane, you have to do what is called the arch position, where you arch your back and your hands and legs have to face the sky. This slows down your airspeed. I remember when I was on the plane, on the way up to the cloud line, I was scared as anything. I felt nauseous and scared, but the second we got above the cloud line, the view above the cloud line was beautiful. My first time, I jumped through a hole in the clouds, and that sight was so beautiful, I couldn't wait to get out of the plane. And when I skydived, I jumped out of the plane. During free fall, I was riding on my stomach on the airwaves, and I was bobbing up and down. Well, I wasn't expecting that, so I thought I wasn't doing the arch position right. But since he didn't say anything, I knew everything was okay. And when you land, when the chute opens and you're ready to land, you have to bend your legs back like you're sitting in a chair, or you're gonna land right on your head. I'm telling you right now, skydiving, depending upon your partner, is even better experience than sex.
But when you first told your mother about the skydiving, she really freaked out. She did not want you to skydive.
Well, she didn't believe me. I purposely did not tell my mother that I skydived. And
there are a lot of things you don't tell your mother.
Right. We're not going to mention here on the show. my mother basically is a little overprotective of me because of my disability. So I didn't tell her, but I told my dad. He told everybody that I skydived and told them not to tell me. Tell her. And around that time, my sister was trying to get pregnant. So everybody told my mother that my dad had a secret that he wasn't going to tell her. So he begged me, Todd, please tell her mother I'm in big trouble. So I told her. She's like, no, you didn't. Don't lie to me. Is Robin pregnant? Well, fortunately, I had pictures and a video taken. So when I went home and showed her the videos and the pictures, then she finally believed me. But we have an agreement. Don't ever tell her before the skydive. I have to tell her after because that will worry her too much. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because she, after all, Todd grew up in Middletown, which is a small Pennsylvania town. Out in the bosom of cornfields and hills, foothills to the Blue Mountains. And your mother didn't want you to go to Philadelphia. I mean, you were supposed to stay in Middletown with the family.
Right.
And the fact that you wanted to be like Jack Kerouac and go on the road and find your own apartment in Philadelphia, to her, was a forbidden thing. But you said, no way, this is what I want to do. But you also went to school in Philadelphia, too. So he found an apartment. This was the first hurdle, I think, claiming your independence.
Right.
Frankly, I think that your mother has come a long way, because you know that I've talked to her, and when you've been in the hospital, you know, we have these long telephone conversations.
Right.
And she's a great mother, but she does worry about you. But I can see where you've had to do a lot of battle with her.
At first, when I went to school, I went to a school called Center for Information Resources, which was a computer school for the disabled, started by Penn, University of Pennsylvania. And she wouldn't even let me take my TV or most of my possessions because she was afraid someone would break in my dorm room and steal my stuff.
See, but this has been a learning experience for everybody.
Right.
For her and for you. It's like nobody escapes the learning curve here.
Right.
And, you know, she never had a child like you before. There was no practice run.
Nope.
You were just thrown into her life. Here's a Todd Hemperly. Deal with it or die. And I think now she's the greatest mother because she gives you a lot of space now. When she calls and when you don't want to talk to her, I hear what she says. She's, okay, Todd, I just called to see if you're okay. And I'm thinking, yeah. But his father is the greatest, too. Your father...
Yes, he is.
...likes to go out into the country and collect archaeological things and gemstones and everything.
Right.
So your father is the opposite of your mom. He's
Absolutely.
So low-key. You feel that you could tell him anything, and you would barely get a ripple of emotion.
Right.
Yeah. Todd recently had a stroke about 2 months ago, and he's come a long way with his speech especially, and because right after the stroke you could hardly talk.
Right.
And he went to a few sessions of speech therapy, and that really blew your mother away too.
Right.
And you know, I was almost sure that after the stroke that they would demand that you come back to Middletown. I thought, this is it for Todd's Philadelphia experience. It's over. But no way, you're still in there.
Yep.
So it's unfortunate also that Todd, he cannot climb steps, so he's fairly limited in to where he can go in the city.
Right.
Because he can't just go out of the wheelchair and climb 2 or 3 steps. So if any place has just 2 or 3 steps, that's off the radar for you.
Right.
You can't go. Todd has, well, he loves city life. He lived in North Philadelphia for a while.
Yep.
Which was the great experiment, I think, because he had, rather than women taking advantage of you, you had a lot of male friends who took advantage of your generosity, who, as I remember, camped out in your apartment, literally destroyed your computer with overuse.
Right.
I would go in, and I would find food all over the floor and everything. They wouldn't even clean up after themselves. Now, wasn't this kind of a sore point between us for a while?
Yes.
Yeah. But I always knew that they would come to a bad end. They did, but you were able to get out of that situation. Do you have any questions for me?
Yes.
I know you have.
Tell me about your 9 books and your newspaper articles.
Well, I did a book last year called Spore. It's a metaphysical science fiction book, and you have a copy of it. And Todd came to at least 2 or 3 of my book readings, and that was always a nice thing. And as you know, I have an ebook that'll be out on Amazon.com soon. So I often like to talk to Todd about troubles in my writing, like relationships with editors that go sour because they're like always ups and downs. So we use one another as feedback.
Right.
So I've learned a lot too from this guy. And I'm trying to think of the book. Which one of the books did you like the best? Did you like Philadelphia Architecture?
Yes.
Yeah, this was, my father was an architect and my grandfather was an architect. But I don't know math, so I couldn't be an architect. So I think you like this book too. These are my parents.
I had that cover.
On their honeymoon. And it was like 5 hours after the reception. So, I've often talked to you about my writing, and you often tell me about things that you don't like as well, right? So, Todd has a very good friend now named Natalie.
Yes.
And Natalie is a massage therapist.
Yes.
So there's always a woman in Todd's life, it seems to me.
Well,
as I look back,
dating.
No, they're not dating. But it's a professional massage relationship thing, right?
Right.
And you treat Natalie very well.
Yep. I usually take her out to dinner after the massage. I like to spoil women, like I said, even though I don't date her.
and it's amazing what people assume about that. There was a desk clerk at the Arts Condo building. I signed in one day, and he made a comment about this beautiful girl going up to your apartment. And he says, "Oh, so she does massages, does she?" And he's kind of giving me that grin, like, "Oh, yeah, I know what she does." And then he's almost asking me, "Can I have her number too? And what does Todd do? What does Todd do to find women like that?" And I just thought, you know, you have it all wrong.
You got it.
You're going to have to talk to Todd about this. We had quite an experience getting to the studio today. The train ride was fun, but we arrived in Lansdale. Mm-hmm. There are no bus signs anywhere. You have to guess where the bus stop is. And so I asked a young mother and her son if this was the bus stop to the Montgomery Mall, and she told us yes, absolutely. She was going to the Montgomery Mall. So in blind faith, we waited with her, and we waited and we waited and we waited. When the bus came, the driver says, Montgomery Mall is on the other side. Okay, so we go to the other side. Then I discover that I have a $5 bill. There are no ones to pay the bus driver. I walk into a store, a sign store, ask the guy if this is the bus stop in front of his store. I know nothing about the bus. Ask the bus driver over there, says he, with attitude and anger. And I'm wondering, did the wheelchair make him angry? You know, and this is what I've often thought. The wheelchair gets different reactions from people. Either it gets tremendous sympathy and people can't do enough for you, or there's this other thing that kicks in. Have you ever noticed that?
Yep.
Yeah.
But I think it's the end of the show. Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching Tom and Todd. We enjoyed having you here.
And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thanks.